The other thing that a lot of people are doing is financial modeling courses. Okay, so these financial modeling courses take upwards of 100 plus hours, sometimes 200 plus. Like I've seen all sorts of crazy stuff out there. And the worst part is like it's extremely confusing and complicated, especially when you don't have a solid foundational understanding of the technical concepts yet. You guys, if you like the content on this episode today, I want you to go and click the subscribe button because I put out multiple episodes every week with different tips on how to get into investment banking, and I want to make sure that you don't miss any of it. Okay, today I want to talk about something that I talked about on a technical workshop lately. We recently hosted a technical interview workshop for people, and people loved it. There's a lot of great content on there. We covered in about 2.5 hours to 3 hours, like a high-level overview of everything you need to know for investment banking technical interviews, right? But there's one part of the presentation or the workshop that I want to share with you guys as well, which you kind of see on the screen here. So I have a couple screenshots here, right? There's two screenshots. The first one is a screenshot of one of my clients who, back in April of last year, took an interview with Citi, and he called it a practice round because at the time he actually already had other offers from different banks that he would have taken over Citi, so he wasn't really going to take the Citi offer. He took the interview anyway. He said he crushed it. He got every single technical question correct, and the behaviors were great. And then shortly thereafter, messaged me again and said he got the super day, and he basically barely prepared before his Citi interview, right? He said he literally prepared for 30 minutes, right? And that's pretty unheard of, right? Like most people, before they have a technical interview, they're going to spend a lot of time leading up to it, cramming for it, prepping it, trying to memorize a bunch of stuff, and he didn't have to do any of that, right? And when we look at the screenshot on the right, separate screenshot, this one's more recent actually, it's from about a week or two ago. I had a different client who had a first round interview with Jefferies, it's also a great bank, and got a mix of technical and behavioral questions. And the interviewer told him straight up that he aced every single question and that he will be moving on, right? And then he got a super day, and then he said the best part about this is that I didn't even prep for technicals and I still aced them, right? That's the Wall Street Mastermind working its magic right there. And he said you weren't kidding when you said the concepts could be mastered in little to no time, right? So not making this stuff up, it's like, we get this all the time from our clients who go into their technical interviews relaxed without having to feel like, they have to do a bunch of last minute cramming just so that they won't mess up on a technical interview. And so how is that actually possible, right? And so I came up with this concept of like the old way versus the new way, right? So I'll just show you. So what the old way, what I'm referring to here is what people have been doing for about the last 15 years or so, okay? This is what everybody is doing out there, okay? So what does that entail when it comes to prepping for the technical interview? Well, most people are either memorizing interview guides, for example, 400 questions, or, any of the other popular guides out there, right? Unfortunately, there's like an infinite number of possible questions, right? Even after you're done memorizing the hundreds of questions in this guide, which is extremely time consuming, by the way, there are still a bunch of other variations of those questions that you probably haven't memorized, right? In fact, most of the interviewers nowadays are sophisticated enough, they know that everybody's reading these same guides. They themselves, depending on when they got into banking, have probably also read the same guides. And, back in like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, when these guides first came out, back in my days when I was in college, if I just read these guides, anyone who read these guides were ahead of the curve, right? Like, because not everyone was doing it yet. At this point, in the current recruiting environment, everybody has caught up to that. Everyone's already reading these guides, right? And so the interviewers know that, and so they're not going to just ask you guys questions straight from the guides because it doesn't help them distinguish between the good candidates and the bad candidates, right? So that's one. The other thing that a lot of people are doing is financial modeling courses, okay? So these financial modeling courses take upwards of 100 plus hours, sometimes 200 plus. Like I've seen all sorts of crazy stuff out there. And the worst part is like it's extremely confusing and complicated, especially when you don't have a solid foundational understanding of the technical concepts yet. Like you trying to learn financial modeling before you understand the underlying concepts just makes it even harder to learn those concepts in the first place, because not only are you trying to digest the concepts, you're also trying to figure out like how do these models like work and how does everything link up together? What do the formulas mean? What is this Excel function? What is index matching? I don't know what that means. Like there's all these extra unnecessary things that you don't really need to know for the interviews. And in fact, at all the top banks, so we've helped clients get into 21 out of the 25 top banks in the last 3 years, okay? None of those banks actually will ask you to, like they won't put a laptop in front of you and ask you to build a financial model on the spot. So actually you don't need to know how to do that. You just need to know how to verbally answer questions and explain these concepts to the interviewer. That's all you're expected to do. So the financial modeling courses, honestly, are a bit of an overkill. Not a bit of it's quite an overkill. And I'm not saying you should never take financial modeling courses, but the right time to take it is after you've gotten the job. If you know you're going to be working there this summer or for full time, and now you want to go and practice in preparation for the job, right? Then you have a lot more time to do that. But given how time crunched you are when it comes to interview prep, you don't want to do any extra unnecessary things that you don't have to be doing, right? Last thing that a lot of people are doing is they're asking upperclassmen for advice, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm all for this. You should absolutely get as much help as you can from the upperclassmen. But in our experience and the experience of our clients, you're only going to be able to get so much help from upperclassmen. One, because they've only been through the process one time, right? So they might be a little bit more knowledgeable than you are, but they're not that much more knowledgeable than you are, to be completely honest, most of the time. And second of all, like, because they've only been through the process one time, what worked for them may or may not work for you, right? It's a sample size of one, and they're a different candidate than you are. If they said their answer this way, it might work for them, it might not work for you, it might not be applicable, right? You want a larger sample size to base your actual actions on, right? Also, the upperclassmen, they might be your friend, they wish you the best, they want you to get in, but they're not going to spend a ton of time helping you because they just don't have any skin in the game. It doesn't really affect them that much if you get the job or not, right? And so, what is the new way then? The new way, which is what a small minority of people have started doing over the last 3 years or so, namely the Wall Street Mastermind clients, is one, instead of memorizing the interview guides, they don't memorize anything. They actually learn to truly understand the concepts. Okay, we call these like aha moments. Because when you do it this way, if you have that aha moment, like, oh, I understand this now, it clicks, you no longer need to memorize anything, it'll stick with you forever. You guys have probably experienced this before when you've tried to learn something new, right? And there's a finite number of concepts. In fact, there are only 4 major topics that you need to know for technical interviews. It's accounting, it's valuation, it's M&A, and it's LBOs. Right? So if you understand those 4 concepts inside out, you're good. Doesn't matter what kind of questions they ask you, right? So because of this, our methodology is called the Accelerated Technical Mastery Method. So instead of taking hundreds of hours taking financial modeling courses or memorizing answers, it only takes our clients about 20 to 30 hours because they only have to learn the stuff that they're actually going to get tested on, which is, again, these 4 major topics, right? It's not that hard to learn these 4 topics. It's not rocket science. You just have to learn the right things, right? And you have to do it the right way. So what is the right way? Well, instead of just, getting some upperclassmen or someone who's not that invested in your outcome to coach you, you can actually get coached by actual investment bankers, right? And not just any investment banker, not a banker who's currently working in banking and, is going to spend a little bit of time with you, treating you as their side hustle or whatever, but anytime work gets busy, they drop you or, you're a lower priority, right? Someone who's going to prioritize your recruiting success as the most important thing. Someone who's also interviewed hundreds of candidates and has that sample size and has that wealth of knowledge to be able to help you calibrate what you're doing and give you feedback on what you could be doing better based on what they've seen your competition do, right? So not based on a sample size of 1, but based on a sample size of hundreds of students that have come before you, right? And that's going to be a lot more precise in terms of the feedback they're going to be able to give you, right? And then in terms of like how invested they are in your outcome, you want a coach that's going to be successful only if you're successful, right? Meaning like, for example, for Wall Street Mastermind, if our clients aren't successful with the recruiting process, it actually hurts us. Right? If we don't have an over 90% success rate, we're trying to maintain that, like a lot of people wouldn't be interested in working with us, right? So every single time if someone doesn't get into banking, it actually hurts us. It makes us feel bad and it actually hurts us personally, right? So we take that very seriously, which means we're going to spend a lot more time helping you. We're going to spend a lot more time answering your questions. We're going to be a lot more responsive. You can ping us anytime, 24/7. You don't have to feel bad about it as if you would if you were just like bugging your friend all the time about every little silly thing, right? And so that's going to give you the best help that you could possibly need to learn this technicals in the shortest amount of time, which is about 20 to 30 hours. Okay, so hopefully that helps you guys. And if you're interested in a new way, feel free to reach out to us. All right? Hey there, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're looking for more customized advice that's tailored for your specific situation, then I invite you to book a free strategy session with our team at the link below. We'll talk to you soon.